quote, bookies are the foot soldiers of this illegal empire, unquote. The NFL, Brian, prime example of sports conspiracy, or what? What's going on there?
Well, I look at game fixing a lot, and I look at it from two different angles. One being games being fixed by the leagues themselves, basically for entertainment purposes and to develop storylines and to make things more interesting, kind of almost like professional wrestling. But I don't claim that every game is fixed. I believe it's something that the NFL kind of nudges when it needs to, a lot of times through its officiating. And on the other end, I look at game fixing from a gambling aspect, where players or referees have been bribed or blackmailed into shaving points or outright fixing games. And believe it or not, there actually is a history of that. It's just uncovering that history is a very difficult job, but it is out there, and it's in FBI files that I've uncovered, and it's available, around if you really dig into it.
So the question of, are all sports fixed? Your answer there is no, but perhaps they can be if the league wanted it to be.
Well, and it's perfectly legal for the NFL to fix its own game, believe it or not. There's no law that prevents it. That's the scary part. The only laws that come close is there's a law that dates back to the quiz show scandal in the 1950s when the networks were fixing their game shows in exactly the same way the NFL would be like fixing its own game, is to make it more entertaining. And if you've ever seen the movie, there's a movie called Quiz Show that was directed by Robert Redford that details exactly how this happened, but they did it for years until they were finally busted by a congressional investigation. But the law passed out of that investigation only specifically mentioned intellectual contests such as game shows. It did not go to sports. So that law doesn't cover it. And the other law that exists is one called the Sports Bribery Act from 1964, but that only covers bribing a player, a referee, or a coach to alter the outcome of a game. If the league, like the NBA, told its referees how to do its job, and the way it kind of implied on how to do their job allowed one team an advantage over another team, well, that's not fixing. That's just an employer telling an employee how to do their job, and it doesn't fall under that law either. So really, there's no law that prevents this from occurring. And I think when you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar business where, obviously a lot of money's at stake, what prevents them enacting such, subterfuge against fans?
Yeah, it's such big business, right? The TV contracts, the NFL wants ratings, and on the other side, the organized crime side, they can get to players to fix a game to sweeten the outcome of their bet, their wager.
Well, exactly, and a lot of people say, well, first of all, the NFL says it's never happened. They said they've never had a game fixed in their history, which most people laugh at. But that's their stance because no one's ever been convicted of that crime. And yet, if you look around the world, you look at soccer, you look at tennis, rugby, cricket. There are game fixing incidents ongoing right now in every one of those sports in multiple countries around the world. Yet, in the United States, we seem to think it's impossible and it never happens because no one gets convicted of it. But the fact is it doesn't matter if, some of these athletes are making millions of dollars, or even hundreds of millions of dollars, because some of those guys who have made that kind of money, guys like Allen Iverson in the NBA, Mantuan Walker in the NBA, even guys in the NFL like Warren Sapp, they've gone bankrupt as soon as they've left the game. So even though they make a lot of money, as Patrick Ewing famously said, they also spend a lot of money, or they sometimes get bilked out of a lot of money. And so sometimes, even veteran players, despite the fact that they look like they're millionaires, may actually be struggling to get by, and so may be open to doing something like throwing a game or shaving points if everything, shakes out right. So, you can get to these athletes, even college athletes especially, but, you can get to professional athletes, I think, and corrupt them. It's just kind of more of a crime of opportunity than one where somebody sits back and says, well, I'm going to fix this weekend's Bears-Packers game because I feel I can do it. It's more they need that in order to get into a player and get him or a referee and get him to affect the outcome of a game.